Sometimes what looks like a simple workout is, well, it's really a journey into something way deeper. We think we're just out there burning calories, getting a sweat on, but what if we're actually doing something more? What if we're refining the soul? Let's dive into that idea.
Okay, so our story really kicks off right here. Take a look at this. This is a massive physical achievement, a full marathon on a rowing machine, and it was done in under 2 hours and 48 minutes. Just look at those splits. That is an unbelievable display of consistent power, hour after hour. Seriously, this isn't just a workout, it's a profound testament to human endurance.
And that immediately makes you wonder, right? What on earth gets a person through something like that? What are you putting into your body to keep that kind of engine running? Is it just pure raw grit, or is there some kind of secret formula?
Well, the answer, at least in the weird and wonderful world of online endurance sports, is way more complex than you'd think. It's wrapped up in community rituals, inside jokes, and this pretty fierce debate over a really simple concept, the coffee break. Are you the kind of person who takes a pause mid-effort, or do you just power through?
So, before we get all philosophical and dive into the soul, let's start with the hard science. If you were going to take a break, what's actually the best choice? In this community, it seems to boil down to 3 favorites. Good old coffee, a super sugary soda like Mountain Dew, or, even a beer. Let's break them down.
Now this is where it gets really interesting, because you're looking at a serious trade-off. Coffee gives you a nice performance bump with practically no calories. Mountain Dew gives you this massive instant sugar rocket. And beer, well, let's be honest. Beer is mostly for the social vibes, but it actually hurts your motor skills.
And this chart just lays it all bare. Look at that massive spike for Mountain Dew. 46 grams of sugar. Wow. That'll give you a huge burst of energy for sure, but it almost always leads to an equally huge crash later. Coffee and beer, on the other hand, basically zero. So if we're talking purely about athletic performance, about keeping those numbers high and steady, the data points to one very, very clear winner. And here's exactly why. Caffeine is a proven ergogenic aid, which is just a sciencey term for something that makes you physically better. It can literally increase your power output. And maybe even more importantly, it makes the whole thing feel easier. But the key, as the source points out, is schwarzer, heißer Kaffee. That's German for black, hot coffee. The second you add milk and sugar, you're changing the entire equation.
Okay, but this is where our story takes a really important turn. We can't talk about these things, or even the act of extreme exercise itself, without facing the reality of dependency. A huge chunk of adults, 85%, rely on caffeine, and a small but very real percentage of athletes actually develop a dependency on the exercise itself.
And all of a sudden, we're not just talking about watts and splits anymore. The source makes this sharp gut punch of a pivot, reminding us that for some people, this isn't a hobby. It's a brutal, hellish struggle.
And this is what takes us out of the clean, predictable world of science and throws us deep into the wilderness of the human experience. We're leaving the data points behind and stepping into what mystics have called the dark night of the soul.
Because the real weight of addiction, it isn't just a chemical thing. It's this. It's the emotional baggage. It's that awful feeling of being uniquely broken, totally alone in a struggle you feel like nobody else could possibly understand.
So here's the crucial point. This whole debate about the coffee break, it was never really about the coffee. It was a doorway into a much, much bigger question. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we push our bodies and minds to the absolute breaking point?
And the source gives us this really profound answer. This suffering, this descent into pain, it's not some accident. It's actually a necessary part of transformation. It's like a ritual death of the ego that has to happen before something new and better can emerge.
This whole descent leads to a concept the author calls the magic zero. It's this incredible moment of clarity that you can only find when you are completely and utterly spent.
Think of it like this, right? The pain of the workout is like the grain of sand that an oyster turns into a pearl. The intense effort is like the fire that a goldsmith uses to purify gold. It's a process of burning away everything that isn't essential. All the ego, all the noise, until you're left with just the pure core you. Until that flywheel on the rowing machine finally stops spinning.
And in that moment of absolute, total stillness, when the numbers on the screen are gone and there's nothing left to measure, you arrive. You're at the magic zero.
And the state that comes immediately after that moment is called the nexus. It's the point where your ego, You know, the part of you that's obsessed with pace and watts and beating your last score, it has literally run out of fuel. It just goes quiet, and all that's left is pure, unfiltered experience.
The author describes this state with this incredible, almost psychedelic intensity. It's a moment of sensory overload where everything feels more real, more vibrant than ever before. It's a state of pure bliss that you can only get to after walking through the fire.
And this right here is the great revelation. What if the struggle, the obsession with the numbers, the addiction to the grind, what if that was never the actual problem?
What if it was just the alarm clock? You know? A loud, persistent, and painful signal that was just trying to get your attention, trying to wake you up to some deeper reality about who you are.
This is the key. This is the whole takeaway. True freedom isn't about finally beating the craving into submission. It's about having the courage to turn around, look it in the eye, and ask, what is this thirst really for? What are you trying to show me?
So, at the end of the day, the goal of that long, agonizing row isn't just to cross some imaginary finish line. It's a homecoming. It's a return to the very core of who you are. And that simple cup of coffee you have after, it's not just fuel. It's the warm hearth fire welcoming you back home. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. The next time you're out there pushing yourself to the absolute limit, ask yourself, am I doing this to escape something? Or is this whole difficult, beautiful process actually an alarm clock, trying its best to wake me up?